Hello, my name is Titus, and I just want to welcome you all back to Take a Beat. I'm here co-hosting today's episode, and I'm here to also just interview Pastor Tirza here
Woohoo!
about her book that she's been reading.
Yeah, so we're still on our tech series on Take a Beat. And if you don't know this, Take a Beat is an IES podcast where we invite you to stop and chat for a little while, only to launch ourselves back on the beat. So we're in this tech series, and while we're talking about, a healthy relationship with technology, and we're talking about, how different generations view or interact with technology. So I have been reading this book. I actually just finished this book not too long ago. It's called The Unplugged Hours: Cultivating a Life of Presence in a Digitally Connected World. And the author is Hannah Brencher. I actually have met her,
Oh
sort of.
shoot, that's so sick.
Yeah. So it's just so weird because I actually started following her because she has this. She's a writer, but she is also a blogger, Christian, and a speaker. And she started this movement of writing love letters. So like having people write physical letters and send it to
Mailing it.
mailing it to
Whoa,
like
that's cute.
not random people, but like people that they feature. And so you send it in, so you get these like random letters of encouragement from random people.
Oh, I love that idea.
So that kind of started me following her. And then one of the years she had posted on her blog of how she's part of an online kind of co-working community, Groove.
that that how you got into that?
No, yeah. And so she was the reason why I got into that. And so Groove is this like co-working, I guess, app where you do 50 minutes of focused time with people. And so there's kind of accountability, but you get to meet new people. And so I actually have had grooves with Hannah. And so I have talked to her. I have met her online. So yeah, that's how like so yeah. And then this is her newest book, The Unplugged Hours. So yeah, that's a connection.
That's an that's so interesting. I didn't know that.
So yeah, I've never met her in
Groove.
person,
Okay.
but I have met her online. I have done 50-minute chunks of productive work with her.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
I remember when PT talked about Groove, I was like coming from being online a lot too, and being on Discord and all that stuff. Like it's not, it's not scary to think about that, but it was weird because it was completely random and it's all over the world kind of thing.
Yeah, and
And
so
that took me off guard.
but also like before the 50 minute of work, 50 minute of work, you're doing it by yourself. But before and after, you have like a video kind of accountability, so you can first share what you're planning to do in the next 50 minutes, and then afterwards you come back on video again and shared how your productive time had gone. I actually still do that. I have people that I groove with in the mornings. Yes, Patrick in the U.S., Shirley in Israel, and Abigail in New York.
Dang.
But yeah, so that's actually how I met Hannah. Kind of weird, but I really like this book, and she's talking about her taking some time to get unplugged. So she would put her phone in a box, like a tin box, and would train herself to do hours of like being unplugged.
Right.
So not doing things with her screen or not doing things with her phone. And actually, she includes in this book a tracker. Let me find this tracker. Um, Obviously, it's a paper tracker,
Oh,
like of 1,000 unplugged
so you like
hours.
tick it?
So you ticket for every
What?
hour that you are unplugged that year. And so that's kind of the challenge for 1,000 unplugged hours. Actually, just I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do.
No, I to give everybody context, I have no idea what this book is about.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, so I'm literally learning everything as you are. And when I read, like, I literally, like, 10 minutes before the recording, like, took the back and I was like, 1,000 hours of being unplugged a year sounds like crazy amount.
Because that amounts to like about maybe 3 or 4 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, really? Does it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
sound
yeah.
too bad, but then it sounds kind of still daunting because, like, I feel like I do everything online.
No, and one of the things that she mentioned was what she found herself realizing how much she's so attached to her phone.
Mm,
And she's talking about, oh yeah, the first thing you do when you wake up is grab your phone.
right, right.
And let's be honest, I do that.
Yeah.
I think also because my alarm's on my phone, and so to turn off my phone, I turn off my alarm. I need to grab my phone, right?
Hmm.
And then before you know it, you're opening Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, and so she actually mentioned that, and I felt so convicted when I read that. I was like, oh, well, like I guess I do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've been trying to, like, me personally, I've been trying to get off in the morning. Like, I have, like, this on Samsung, they have, like, modes. And so I turn on this mode where all my social media apps besides WhatsApp is, like, off the grid. So, like, I can't
Okay.
use it. But I still bypass it sometimes when I'm really, like, if I'm having a lazy day, I really do bypass it, which is not how it should be. Um, but okay. But speaking on the book,
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, like, what else does she talk about? Like, what else are you learning from this
So
book?
it's not just about unplugging
Mm,
physically, but also understanding the kind of relationship that we have with technology. So the kind of, and I'm not going to tell you everything because I do really encourage you to read the book. That's partly why I wanted to talk about it, is to kind of promote it to you. And don't worry, I'm not getting paid to get to promote it. Um,
friends with Hannah is all.
I don't know if I don't think we're friends. I think we're like I just follow her. Um, but I think what got to me was the tagline says
Mm,
cultivating a life of presence in a digitally connected world.
mm.
And I think that's something that she mentioned and she had mentioned actually some statistics in here
Oh.
that is pretty like mind-blowing on how much people spend on their phones, how much time that people spend on their phones,
Mm.
or how much people spend on like screens and different things.
Mm.
Um, and even like I remember maybe around Christmas I got together with a few friends, and we were talking about how much time we've spent on Instagram
Mm.
and social media, and because with iPhones now they give you those screen times and they tell you how much time
Yep.
you spend on that app, and like some of my friends like 3 hours, and I was like okay. And we don't really realize how much time we're spending, and if we're not conscious and we're not aware of when like the time we spend online and virtually, it gets away from us.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this world that we live in is more and more digitally connected.
Right, right.
I think especially after the pandemic, it changed everything.
Oh,
Like everything has a virtual or digital like kind of
yeah.
layer to it. Even our real life jobs, like there's an underlying maybe digital aspect of it,
Hmm.
because it's so I was a part of me feels a little funny doing this podcast because I'm the digital
Exactly,
pastor.
exactly,
And
exactly.
so this is me talking about being unplugged. I was like, if I'm completely unplugged, I don't have a job.
Yep.
But I think the awareness of how reliant we are
Mm.
on our phones and our screens. Actually, here, let me share with
Yes,
you
please.
one thing that I bookmarked. Um, This is what she said. This is in the first chapter, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. She said this: the reality is that when any discomfort emerged, I turned to my phone or busied myself with work instead of facing my discomfort.
Mm.
At first, these little escapes felt harmless, but as they started happening more, I began to see that I wasn't connecting, I was numbing myself. Author Brianna Wiest, I think I said that right, writes, if you don't put the phone down feeling inspired or relaxed, you're probably trying to avoid some kind of discomfort within yourself.
Sheesh.
The very discomfort that just might be telling you that you need to change. My ability to plug in became a portal I went through to avoid any emotion I didn't feel like facing: anger, sadness, jealousy, pain.
That's hard. That's
And
real.
and
That's
I
so
read
real.
that and I was like, so because honestly, for me, not a lot of people know this, but I grew up with social anxiety.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
know I'm a
Mm.
pastor. I get it. I get that. Some people don't think that it's possible, but actually, with new environments and a lot of people, I get anxious.
Yeah, yeah.
But one of the things that I do is actually I use my phone. So when I'm feeling uncomfortable, I either play on my phone or even like when I don't feel safe and I walk. I used to do this when I was living in Seattle and I like was walking and there's like strangers and I don't feel comfortable. Like I pretend to talk on my phone.
Like calling?
Like I'm on a call.
What?
Yeah.
I've never. Okay. I mean,
So
I get everything, and when
okay,
you got there,
but
I'm like, whoa.
that's the extent to how I. But so I think when I read that, for me, I realized that even when I feel uncomfortable, a lot of the times the first thing that I do is
Mm.
pull out my phone and like, what can I do to either distract myself from the feeling of being uncomfortable, or like what can I do? What can I like? How can I not feel this way?
Yeah.
So I think so. Reading that, I was like, oh, yeah. I don't think I am very practiced in just sitting with the discomfort.
Mm-mm. I relate with that quite a lot because um I always feel like I'm not super social or like super like my teens might disagree, but uh, it's not my strong suit. And so when I feel awkward or when I feel like I don't connect with some people, or like if I'm going to a new environment and there's a lot of people to socialize to or socialize with, sorry, um, I end up just being on my phone a little bit more, and then just kind of like, and sometimes sometimes I sit there and I wish somebody would just text me so I can at least have something to do on my phone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but like I'll just sit there and be like doing nothing on my phone,
yeah.
and same thing goes when I'm like when I feel like there's a discomfort or even some type of disagreement or anger with a situation that's happening, I would just kind of be on my phone and kind of like close off. And I one of the things that I did want to talk about was that escape,
Yeah.
because like I feel like digitally, like whether it's on my phone, whether it's my video games, I
Movies.
movies, yeah, I would wanna like that is my escape from this reality in a way, but it becomes so much, especially growing up and being more like of an adult and working and all these things. It's like, how do I escape when when the reality of the things that I need to do is also online? So like, oh, when I'm playing games and all these things, like how like or even just escape in general. Like I feel like that in itself, saying that word
Yeah.
as an adult, it feels like it's like, oh, what, like what I mean, it feels like a
Mm.
negative thing having to
Yeah, yeah.
escape. And so how do you like? What is does the book say anything about that, or is there anything that you're going through that speaks on that in any way?
I think um, you know, it talks about how we need to take better types of breaks.
Mm.
So rather than, because sometimes I think we say, okay, I need a little bit of break from whatever is going on, and so my self care is going on the screen and playing games.
Yeah,
When
that's me.
that might, or I mean, for me, it could be like just binging, like a TV show or something, and it it's it's a lot more numbing that in it that like I think one of the things that she's talking about is it when we do that a lot of the times it's actually just numbing, not so
Mm.
much caring for
Ooh,
ourselves.
yeah, yeah,
And so the question that she keeps asking throughout the entire book is how do you be present,
mm,
because not so much escaping, but you do need rest
right.
from
Agreed.
things,
Yeah.
from like busyness of life and things like that. But what like what is really restful, and what does it look like to really care for your soul, instead of going maybe the easy route and numbing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think from my experience, like the kind of the binging and all of that, for me, I don't really play video games. I get bored too easily. Um, but I think for me, those kind of binging that actually, like after I'm done with that and I go back to my real life, I'm still tired.
Right. Right.
I'm still drained.
Right.
And so I think what she's suggesting is taking some time to unplug, to really care for our soul. And that means to maybe be curious about, okay, what are some of the feelings that we're feeling? Like some of these uncomfortable feelings that we were mentioning earlier. Being curious on like, why do I feel that?
Mm.
What are some of the things in my life that's kind of prompting that? And really gently tackling these things in, and it includes also because she's a Christian, which is why I feel like it connects with me very very well, on how we talk to the Lord about the things that we are going through. We talk to the Lord about um, maybe the mental health struggles that we
Right.
might have, instead of numbing,
Mm.
which just kind of puts the problem aside but not really tackling with it. And so once we're back in the real world, it's still tiring. But really, like asking ourselves, what does it look like to actually care for our souls and actually be present in relationships, and letting people in
Mm.
to encourage us and talk to us, getting to know someone new, um, that has nothing to do with like, you know, multitasking
Right.
or things like that. So yeah.
I hate that as you were talking, I had a question and then like it
And
like
then it disappeared.
yeah it disappeared. Uh, I mean for your own experience, Pastor Tirza, like what are you where where are you with that? Like how are you tackling your own kind of emotions when you feel those things or when you want to escape? Like how are you tackling it now?
I think I have good days and bad days.
As we do.
Cause no, because I think there are some times when I just feel like, oh, let me just pop in a movie.
Mm.
Because I think I grew up kind of feeling like, oh, if like I always need something in the background. Like I need a movie playing in the background or some noise in the background. Um, and so one of the things that I've been learning how to do, and definitely like this reading this book has been kind of challenging me to do so, is to be okay with stillness, to
Mm.
not have to have all of these stimulating things, and being okay with how I feel, and being honest with how I feel, and sometimes sitting there and be like, okay, I am angry
Mm.
because of this. And a lot of that has to do with also bringing to the Lord.
Right.
Like, okay, this is how I feel about this particular thing or this particular issue or this particular interaction I had with this particular person. And then rather than distracting myself with, like, oh, I just need to not feel this. And so let me pop in a feel good Hallmark movie, which I do. And just like trying to, I don't know, bait myself into feeling better.
Mm,
And but being able to be like, okay, this is how. And there are some ways where I do it. I actually have this app that I shared with you. What was this called? How you feel? How we feel?
oh, that one. Okay,
Yeah.
think about the other one. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it helped me, like, okay, because sometimes it would prompt me like, how do you feel right now? And so I have to pick from all of these different feelings
I
on
love it.
like
Yeah.
how I feel. And I think the even the act of naming how I feel
Mm,
helps me tackle it bit by bit.
right,
Like,
right, right, right.
okay, I'm upset or I'm irritated. And why am I irritated? And sometimes it's really just because it's really hot outside and the heat affects me.
Right.
And for me to be able to be like, okay, I'm irritated not because of anything else. It's because the heat.
Mm,
And acknowledging that feeling, but not having to have that influence my entire day.
right.
So I don't have to be irritated the entire day, but being able to name, like, oh, I'm irritated. Why am I irritated? And then understanding, oh yeah, it's really hot outside and it's muggy, and I might need to cool down, and then I don't have to feel irritated the entire day. And understanding that our feelings are valid, but our feelings don't have to take over our days or our lives.
Mm, mm. I get that too because I'm using the app as well. Not as often as I did before, but like I do like at least check in 2 to 3 times a week. And it is helpful. Like I think just being able to sit and know what you're feeling and also know where it's coming from, lets me understand that this is sometimes even for a moment.
Yeah.
Like that feeling or that negativity or even positivity is still for just a moment.
Yeah.
And I think sitting in that and being okay with that. One of the things that I'm hearing from you, at least in this part right now, is that this is the book doesn't talk about, because initially what I was thinking was, um, this book would tell you to do something that isn't tech based or
Yeah.
digital based, but it doesn't seem like that.
So what she's actually saying is you need to define what unplugged look like for you.
Okay.
And so, like, for me, I don't think unplugged, like, a lot of the times unplugged means not on my phone.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
so I would put my phone on like personal, and no one contacts me. No, I don't get notifications. But not all gadgets, because I have like writing gadgets
Yeah.
that I use, and I don't really do anything else on it but write. Like, it's a typewriter thing. And then my notebook is also semi digital.
Yeah.
And so I use that to journal a lot. So for me, and for me, like, I still have my Apple Watch. I don't, with those moments, I don't, like, I don't get notifications about like WhatsApps and things like that, but I do get notifications about, like, oh, like, you're like, you seem stressed, like, so do some breathing. And I think for me, I don't think I'm completely unplugged, but I think I make choices where I'm more present.
Mm. I think. Oh, that's okay. So it's kind of like, even still, like it's still something that's up to you. That is,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
what
yeah.
she's telling you. Okay.
So she doesn't, and she's telling this, like, this, she shares what she did,
Mm,
but she doesn't dictate how we do things. It's just
right.
sharing like what it means to get unplugged.
So you talked like it's also in the book, like on the cover, but it's also just something that you say a lot. Today was presence, right? And I think, being one of your teens and you being my teens faster,
Yes.
I feel like you've used that word a
This
lot.
okay. This tech series has been making me feel old.
Sorry. But like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
use the word presence and you use the word being present a lot, especially like when I was growing up. Like I felt like you said that a lot, and
Yeah.
um, it really stood out to me, like being able to sit where I am.
Yeah.
Not only, like oftentimes for me, like it's to be present with the people I'm with, but I feel like it's so important, like how you're talking about with being present with yourself.
Yeah.
And this numbing that we do when we go on the digital, or this numbing that we do when we even on our way to a book or on
Yeah.
our way to a thing, like it's for me. I feel like it's so for me myself. I've been to I was in a stage where like gaming was to the point where my body craved it, my mind did not. And
And you get tired.
I
Like
get
your
tired.
mind's tired.
My mind's tired, or I feel no restoration. Like usually it would be like, oh, I love gaming, and I sit down and play, and I feel great afterwards. But it came to a point where like I would do
The
that.
joy's not there.
The joy is not there. I would come out of it like that
Yeah.
was a waste of time.
Yeah.
It was fun for that like 20 minutes, but then like the an hour and a half that I tried to keep going, it was just for what, you know what I mean? And I realized that
Yeah.
it was like this numbing thing, or this running away thing that I did. And when I started to realize that that was a problem, or realize that this was something that I was doing myself, the word, not the word, but I guess the reality of being present came back.
Yeah.
Being present with your emotions, being
Yeah.
present with your with where your walk of life is right now. And like I still love gaming. I haven't done that as much recently, but I still love it. I love watching people play games. I still like a lot of my content, a lot of the things I still consume is still kind of gaming related because I
Yeah.
just love that world. But being able to say like, okay, like maybe right now where I'm at doesn't need to have that as much as I used to. But being able to say like, okay, now how do I get my rest? How do I get my
Yeah.
joy? And even how do I sit in with my emotions? Because like
Yeah.
I think it's so important for all of us to be able to look at where we are in life, and to be honest, not run away from it.
Yeah.
Not run away from our emotions. Not run away from the discomfort of life. And I'll be honest, like not I'll be honest, but I'll give you everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like sometimes we just tired, and we just want to be able to rest and like run away and hide a little bit in our hole. And it happens. I feel that a lot on a
Yeah.
Monday, especially. Like my social battery is very small, and so being faced with 180 teens on a
On a
week
Sunday.
on a Sunday is loud. I love them to death, but it can be loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like I do want to escape, but then like I realized like if I just game for like 8 hours that day, which is not healthy, like it doesn't give me energy anymore. It doesn't give me as much energy
Yeah.
anymore. And so I find that I look back and look at where does it give me it? Where have I been getting energy? And sometimes I look at my friends. I look at my friends and I hang out with them, or do soap with them, or read the Bible with them, or I journal, which to be honest I haven't done as often as I should. Um, but I think like as we talk about this, like I'm also realizing that I'm kind of afraid to journal because I'm afraid to like face that emotion, right? And even then, that's like a mini escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you're talking about like having to be present, not only with like the physical world, but being
Yeah.
present with like where you are like emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think oftentimes we miss that.
Yeah.
Like we forget that. We just think that what's important is everything else. But when we look back, it's kind of like, oh, we need to also figure out where we are, because we get lost in everything. Like that's why like going back, for me, I'm just going back to like biblical stories as well. Like the Israelites get lost all the time because they just focus on outward, right? They
That's
focus
right.
on what's outside of these walls, or what's outside of these the covenant, or what's outside of these laws, but they forget like the point is not like it's not me against the world, but it's also just figuring out like where am I standing in this world,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I thought that's the real interesting twist that I did not expect from this book as you're talking about
And
it.
I think David said this in the Psalms. Search me, O Lord, and know me, know
Love
my
that verse.
thoughts.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the times, I understand needing rest
Mm.
from things like and when you have an overabundance of feelings or things are just overwhelming, sometimes you just need a little bit of time where you don't
Mm.
tackle the feelings, but you can't do that for too long.
Agreed. Agreed.
And you need to be present. We need to be present, and it requires courage
Yes.
and boldness to face our feelings
Yeah.
and be curious about, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it requires asking God to search me and know me, know my thoughts, and like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And maybe I'm irritated because my pride's been wounded.
Mm.
And so I need to tackle that with God.
Right.
Maybe I'm upset because I'm a control freak, which I am, and things aren't going the way I want them to go.
Right.
And so that's something that I need to bring to the Lord and really deal with. But if I'm not present and I don't let myself face it and ask myself why I'm feeling this certain way, I won't ever be able to like tackle it.
Right.
Um, I actually like this is something that I quote. I say a lot. And actually, I heard it from first from Hannah, Hannah Bruncher. So really, yeah, be where your feet at.
That's from her?
Yeah,
Whoa. I've heard
be
this a lot.
yeah, be where your feet are. And I think it's just the ability to be present and when wherever you're at, be really be there. What you're observing, what you're going through, what you're taking in, really be there. And I think that's my prayer too for everyone
Yeah.
who's like listening to this and thinking about this and maybe even trying to be more present in their world. Um, I pray that we all have the boldness
Yeah.
to be present with our own reality, be present with the state of our relationships, be present with our emotions, and being able to tell God, God, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Search me and know me. And if there's anything that's not from you, let's deal with it together.
Right. I was also just thinking like I guess for those who are watching as well, like sometimes it is scary to like face those feelings. It's very scary and probably even very tiring to go through that and like wade through all the weight of these emotions or wade through all the the weight of like what you were carrying for so long and just
Yeah.
ignoring, like you were dragging it behind you this whole time, but you didn't want to look back.
Yeah.
But I want to encourage you guys like to try to take a like step. I think even in this moment where like you're maybe realizing now that you have been ignoring some of these feelings or ignoring some of the past that you haven't really been facing, like
Yeah.
our God's a big God. Our God is a strong God, and I know that he will he will give you that strength to turn around and look back and wade through it. He is a God who fights your battles.
But at the same time, he's also a very gentle God.
Absolutely.
So your
Absolutely.
feelings and your experiences and your even your past trauma is safe with him.
Oh, that's so good. No, that's so good. Sorry. It is very safe with him. And I and that's what I want to encourage you guys to have that trust or even faith that he can do these things, because at the end of the day, this God who created the world, who has the strength to do all these things, strength to defeat the nations that we see in the Bible, or to resurrect people from the dead. That's the same God, that's the same power that we get to have,
Yeah,
or get to be a part of. And
Yeah.
but he's also the same God who throughout your whole life has been kind of nudging you every now and then, telling you gently to talk to him, or telling you gently that you are loved by your parents or loved
Yeah.
by these people that are in your
Yeah.
life. And these are all gentle nudges that he does throughout your life. And the fact that you're still alive and he's given you breath, he's given you energy, that is also a gentle nudge that he loves you and he wants to take care of you.
That's right.
And so I want you to take a look back and just maybe get off this video even and then sit
Like
with
it first, subscribe,
yes.
and get off this video.
Share it if you feel like, and then sit with your emotions and figure out what have you been feeling, what are you working through right now.
Yeah, and I love like it says the unplugged hours, but maybe sometimes it requires us being unplugged from everything else in order for us to really get connected to God.
Right. Oh. No, yeah,
And
love
I
that.
think that's all the time we have.
That's so fast, really.
I know.
Oh shoot.
No.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. If you would like to read this book, I highly recommend it from Hannah Brencher, The Unplugged Hours. And if you want to try out getting unplugged and really be present, we're praying for you, we're rooting for you, and thank you
Yes.
for joining us this chat. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Take a Beat. Don't miss a beat.